The following is all of my 60-second Stronghold Protocol Core Alliance guides in one non-short video. You can use YouTube's chapters or the timestamps in the description to skip around, but for those of you watching normally with slightly better attention spans, I have some bonus notes on the neutral operators and how to get good at the mode in general that I learned in the making of all this. Before that, I should mention some housekeeping stuff. These shorts are presented unmodified from their originals, with the exception of Victoria, which had new discoveries after publication, not least of which being Reed Alter's hidden Victorian status in-game. A pretty huge arts damage carry option, though because I read the lore, I also have to add that I have no comment on what that means for Tara's political situation lore-wise. I also made a pass to make the editing style more consistent, and to add lots of annotations, but the voiceover for Victoria will remain unchanged. Unfortunately, this means that this has to be in portrait vertical video, as you can see, but I'm short on extra time to put in on this, and I figured this is the best compromise versus letting all of this knowledge be buried in shorts. Though I will say, I chose to make shorts intentionally since I figured the round timers are fast and people can watch in between waves really conveniently, and that seems to have worked out, so thank you for the great reception thus far. As with my other guide content, I will be uploading transcripts to Patreon for free since I know that some folks out there don't like video and they just want to Control F the text and be done with it, but I do know that this gets less traffic than my videos, so I'm only doing this on principle. It's not really super worth it for me, and I also can't spare the time to transcribe all the annotations that I add in the process of editing the video after the voiceover script is finalized, so apologies for that. First up, I'm going to shout out Ramen Blitz's video on this. It's a good general guide on foundational knowledge with this genre. I do think that he does use a bit too much TFT or auto chess terminology without explaining it in the latter half of the video, but even so, his early talking points are pretty solid, and I might inadvertently echo them in the following list. So, in no particular order, Gitano serves as a good operator to leave on your bench to open up Marvel and Foresight as economic options. The fundamentals of Arknights still apply, and operators that are good at their jobs in the early main game are still good here. Some notable picks include Savage as a Centurion Guard lane holder with Aid, and Korra for unparalleled tanking value even at E1. Pay attention to prep attributes since they often benefit you economically for a future round. For instance, Vigna is a one-cost prep, which means she can be bought with spare money to bank the funds on your bench. You can sell her back later for a full refund to use in a higher level shop instead of having to use the money on a lower level shop reroll. Rock isn't a neutral operator, but the items that she gives can be used by anyone. That goes for any of the item-giving operators in general, really, but Rock provides a good potential spread of items away before a level 5 shop is available. Speaking of non-neutral operators, Waifu is normally used in Yanni's comps, but her attribute adds stacks to only active alliances. You can deactivate alliances temporarily if you shuffle your operators right to put stacks in a lower alliance with her attribute. Salon's attribute also adds stacks to any alliances, but you can't really juggle alliances with her because it takes effect at the end of the rest phase when you want everyone on the field. But at least it takes effect passively from the bench, so keep her on there if you like that. Some of the best neutral stack generators include Warfarin, who can give up to 10 stacks of an operator's active alliances per round when paired up with a skill-spamming operator in front of her, doubled if Civilite Eterna is also facing that operator. Cruz Halter has a similar effect, but her generation is limited to precision. Thorns and Tin Man are very solid units that offer damage, healing, and minor stack gains to very sought-after alliances. It's a nice holy trinity. A common neutral late-game boost comes in the form of Silence Altar and Telopsis. This activates Agile, which can be stacked modestly in the late game simply by spending saved-up money, unless you're Yan with Investor, in which case, go nuts. If you have the slots, the attack speed is usually worth it even if you're not normally an Agile comp, and at the end of the day, they're still both solid options for healing support, especially for the comps that don't have a healer at all. Now the game has RNG, there's no getting around that. However, the more knowledge that you have, the better. If you want to get good at anything, don't just reroll the shop and gamble aimlessly or just play to play. Try to look for points to improve and other options to take so that you're better prepared to take advantage of things when RNG finally does go your way. For those of you pursuing Hidden Core, I'm told that the threshold is 1,000 cumulative stacks in multiplayer added up between players and 300 cumulative stacks between all active alliances in solo. Factions with slower average stack generation, such as Victoria or Sargon without Passenger, will need to go for supplemental neutral stack generation to achieve this by the boss round. Reminder that you need your stacks by the time you enter the boss battle, since stack generation is disabled within the boss battle itself, so you can go all out with your best operators. And that's about it. That's all I've got for you. So here are all of the 60-second guides presented in release order. Here's how to play Victorians in Stronghold Protocol in 60 seconds. The Victorian Core Alliance is an equipment-focused faction that wields the might of Victoria's factories to provide plenty of gear and extra buffs to Victorians that equip it. If you don't have Herald's Victorian-focused strategy yet, consider Warfarin's strategy to help with Victoria's slow stack generation, especially if you get unlucky rolling for Heidi at tier 3. Heidi's attribute is the most consistent way to get stacks for Victoria, granting 4 stacks at the end of every rest phase for every Victorian operator of a different tier of the field. As you get gear, make sure all Victorians have something equipped to get the faction's stack buffs. These are a final bonus damage multiplier at 3 unique ops and an attack boost at 6 unique ops. To help with gearing up, every 25 stacks will also give you a random Victorian hammer for free. Because of this perk, the easiest win condition with Victoria is to find the burn hammer and slap it on a strong arts damage carry. Pair it with a miniature accelerator on Golden Glow for death by 1,000 zaps. Slam it onto Blaze Altar skill 3 for massive elemental damage payloads, or if you're really lucky, bestow it upon Vina Victoria along with a Steam Heart to grant her double the effects of every hammer on the field. Good luck, and remember to
swing your hammers!
How to play the Sargonians in Stronghold Protocol in 60 seconds. The Sargon Core Alliance is an operator skill-focused alliance that spams their skills to pay the bills with strong buffs to rack up the kills. Pepe's strategy rewards you for leveling with Sargonian ops, but if you don't have her, you can pick neutrals that help your economy like Justin Jr.'s. Sargon's mid and late game can also generate items for Demasti to use, more on that later. The stack buff at 3 operators gives attack speed for a few seconds to all Sargonians whenever any of them use a skill. This stacks with itself to provide a stronger buff up to a cap with enough skill spam. At 6 operators, this buff is upgraded to provide a stacking attack boost as well. Because the stacks only affect buff duration, Sargon doesn't need many stacks to be effective. If you use Papyrus and Philae the whole game, you should be set. Instead, you should invest in things that can supercharge Sargon's buff to exploit into a win condition. Examples include 40 stacks of Swift with Tin Man and Thorn's Altar for Minimalist S2 and or Passenger S1. Swift via items using a Demasti Isomorph and Eunectes to get biscuits. Building Precision to let Passenger stack damage for himself and Narantuya, using Pepe to find a Compass and T-Spresso for Minimalist to SP battery the entire team, or giving Sargon's buff to a non-Sargonian DPS using Damaz. Keep these options in mind and you will have
all as you desire.
How to play the Lateranians in Stronghold Protocol in 60 seconds. The Laterano Core Alliance is an ammo-focused alliance that burns bullets brazenly to manufacture massive magazines for blasting bombastic bombardments. Paganini is the strategy of choice for Lateranian recruitment, but Orchid, Damasti, Chen, and Catherine are also decent neutral picks for different reasons. Pick whatever's good for your lobby. The stack buff at 3 operators is to gain bonus ammo on skills that use it. At 6 operators, the buff will also give attack for every bullet spent that round. Laterano tends to be weak in the early and mid-game due to operators that don't use ammo, but you should still be farming stacks ASAP to make the late-game carries pop off. To do this, recruit Insider, Tier 2 Executor, and a 3rd Lateranian of your choice to activate the alliance. Position them as shown so that Insider spends bullets to trigger Executor's stack generation, which will give Insider more bullets and attack speed to spend them even faster. In the mid-game, shore up your defenses and economy with a good medic and activate Marvel and Foresight if you can. By the time you get a Lemuin or Exucii Altar, you should be set. If not, look out for good items such as the Precision Scope by Module Robotic Arm or the Gun Knight's Might. If all goes well, you should be nuking the screen, and with any luck,
prayers are unnecessary.
How to play the Yanese in Stronghold Protocol in 60 seconds. The Yan Core Alliance is an econ-dependent alliance that converts wealth into stacks to empower both their operators and what I can only describe as, we have Sui at home. Du's Yan-focused strategy or other economy-boosting strategies are perfectly fine, but Malkovich's strategy is a very popular pick for Yan because of the following. Stack generation in Yan is focused on when-obtained attributes. This is usually enhanced by activating the Investor Alliance with Swire Altar and 2 more investors of your choice. This re-triggers when-obtained attributes such as Ethan's, which Malkovich's strategy can abuse to get absurd amounts of operators that can be sold back for more money to invest. Bear in mind that Investor takes tier 5 operators to fully activate, so use Aid, Foresight, Marvel, and strong neutral operators to hold the fort until you can afford Yan's lineup. At 3 operators, the Yanni's stack buff is a simple attack boost, but when you get to 6 operators, the attack and HP of all Yanni's operators are combined into one flying unit called Yan's Protection. This Dargon-like thing has a ranged auto attack, burn damage on the side, and a fire-breathing special that inflicts elemental fragility. Besides Blaze Altar taking advantage of that, running Lin and Silence Altar to activate and stack Agile gives your team sorely needed attack speed for spending money that you were going to spend anyway. But don't spend too much time shopping because
time is money!
How to play the Aegirians in Stronghold Protocol in 60 seconds. The Aegir Core Alliance lineup focuses on devouring one another to make whoever's at the top of the mostly Abyssal Hunter food chain absurdly bulky and powerful. If you aren't using Clementia's Aegir-focused strategy, consider neutral strategies like Ermengarde or Kalaisha to mitigate or take advantage of their mechanic. Using Pith Student is also extremely funny. Also, caution with skills. Set Spectre and Andriana to skill 1 to avoid self-griefing, and Underflow to skill 2 to help with ranged offense because Aegir has limited anti-air. When activated at 3 operators, all Aegirians at the start of each battle phase will devour whoever's in front of them to absorb their attack and block count for the round while generating stacks based on the devoured operator's tier. This might be a bit scary at first, but Aegirians gain HP from their stacks, so some of them can eventually tank the 6,000 physical damage hit. Plus, at 5 Aegirian ops, the first 2 to die will immediately revive. To use this effectively, chain it together in a long line to make the last person really strong. Cleave through early game chaff using a promoted Spectre with regen, put Ulpianus in front to give the rest of the team his high base attack, or have Scotty Alter buff everyone back and deal huge AoE true damage with skill 3. Besides devouring, since most of Aegir's melee, stacking 200 resilient with gravel at the front of the chain is recommended. Otherwise, feed the fish, get stacks, or else.
The depths will devour your bones.
How to play the Kjerag in Stronghold Protocol in 60 seconds. The Kjerag Core Alliance is a cold-focused faction that locks down the battlefield with cold inflictions before shattering their frozen enemies. Serious or most neutral strategies will work just fine, but if I had to give a recommendation, Demaste Cluster is an easy pick thanks to the guaranteed Kjeragi never meltize from buying Yerda herself. When the Alliance is activated at 3 Kjeragi operators, they gain stack-based buffs to their damage and bonus damage against cold and frozen enemies. For the main source of stack generation, rush tier 4 to find Prominix and Gnosis. Freezing enemies inside Prominix's attack range gives a chance at getting a stack, and Gnosis just happens to be a reliable way to help do so. Add on Never Meltize from any Kjerag you bought in tier 3, and you'll be farming stacks in no time. Speaking of farming, you may want to hold short of 6 Kjerag operators so that the gust of wind that procs cold for a really long stack scaling time doesn't make it harder to refreeze enemies. Kjerag understeers are also not really worth rolling for, but if you can get it, might as well. In the late game, look for Silver Ash if you want even more stacks, Degenbrecha to make use of her scaling, and any other operator with multiple hits or damage over time to proc cold would never meltize. Ascalon is a fan favorite for those who have her. With this in mind, go forth with Yeragonder's blessing, and
may the holy Mount Carlin be with us.